Well, the accident and emergency units have been reopened at the Charlotte Maxeke Hospital. It cost nearly 70 million rand for the repairs. Repairs have been criticised for moving at a snail's pace after a fire destroyed the hospital more than a year ago. Health Minister Joe Phaahla and his deputy conducted a site visit earlier today. Dr. Sibongiseni Dlomo joins us now live. The Deputy Minister, thanks for your time. We appreciate it. So, given your assessment of the improvements at Charlotte Maxeke today, are you satisfied?
Thank you very much and good evening to your viewers. You probably recall that the Minister in his previous announcements did indicate that we will be making regular updates on Charlotte Maxeke Hospital because it's going to be a multi-phased, multi-year renewal and actually improvement of that hospital. So we were satisfied today that we are on phase 1, which was actually the opening of the accident and emergency unit. Of course, it met our time. It was actually completed in end of April, but we're only getting time today to actually go and see it. Already there are patients in there in those areas. 15 patients have already been moved from Helen Joseph Hospital, 15 psychiatric patients, fully equipped accident and emergency unit. So yes, it's a multi-phase, multi-layer sort of type of processes will be coming in again to announce further developments into the phases that will be put in place. Thank you.
Yeah, a fully equipped accident and emergency unit, but there's a problem with the CT scanner, I understand. So you're not taking walk-ins as well? Exactly,
sir. We were fortunate to find the people who were actually repairing it. You'd recall it was probably not one, that one was not gutted by fire. There was vandalism of that unit. And in fact, people have been arrested for that. But we are happy to hear that they may be finishing with this repair this week and maybe fully calibrated to take patients. This is just a caution that clinicians are saying, rather let's get patients stabilized in another area and then we receive them at Charlotte Maxeke, rather than to get them from the accident scene, bring them in here when we will not be able to use this very important tool, the CT scanner. But however, that is just temporary because as we are advised by end of this week, that CT scanner will be fully functional according to those who are repairing it today, this morning.
That's why I'm raising the fact that you're saying that it's fully equipped and operational, but I'm guessing by the end of the week it'll be all systems go. Talk to me about the vandalism though, because obviously it's one of the concerns raised by several parties regarding Charlotte Maxeke. You're spending so much money to actually fix the facility, but then you have people going in, stealing and breaking equipment. Is there any improvement on the security front going forward?
Yes, I think that's one of the things that the MEC, together with the Premier, have actually requested that the Department of Health in Gauteng be assisted by the National Department, and the Minister is actually taking that matter forward. And we will be improving on that. May not be able to disclose all the details, but it's just unbecoming for someone to come into a facility because you know it well and you therefore go into actually tampering with such a very expensive equipment and vandalize it. So I am actually saying we are fully equipped, just save for that one which was there initially put in place but vandalized by some of those people whom we trusted that they would be guarding our equipment. So there will be action taken against them. In fact, some of them have been arrested. But yes, you are correct. We need to strengthen the security of the equipment and of our staff in that facility and many other facilities in the country. Thanks.
Let's talk about the cause of this fire. Have we established that yet?
I think our technical people are also working on that part. That part was not actually what we were receiving today. There is an assessment continuously because you recall some of the areas have not been completely assessed, and we are getting a report that a full assessment of that will be finished by June this year. So maybe that will give an indication. That part we really have not really been able to pinpoint and say this is what happened, this was the cause. Yes.
Deputy Minister, it's been over a year. What's taking so long?
Maybe between me and you, it should have been done yesterday. But the technical report is saying there are certain areas that you need to be very careful to access. You would not actually, because some of the gutters, the pillars are in a situation that will need not an ordinary person like you and me to go and assess. It needs technical people using certain equipment to access those areas. So we would want to caution and actually err on the side of that. And we are advised that they should be very careful in approaching some of those areas. And that is the advice that we take. So it's a technical, very important, complicated matter to actually access a building that has actually been gutted by fire. You need to be accessing some of the areas in a very, I mean, it's a multi-layered, multi-floored building. So it's not just one flat floor. So it's really with different corners. So you need to take that advice of the technical people in that response.
I'm sure it's at a hefty bill as well if that investigation is taking so long to be completed. But can we talk about your deadline of the end of 2023 for this hospital to finally be fully functional? Are you on track in that regard?
We are delighted to say what was initially presented to the minister has since been revised, but I think it is because of the DPSA coming in with the Department of Health nationally that in March 2023 we will be completed with Block 1, which actually houses the obstetric and gynecology unit. The Block 2, where there's pediatrics wards, will be completed by July of next year, and Block 3 of surgery, October next year. Block 4 and 5, where there's internal medicine wards, will be finished by November 2023, which is way much more friendly than what was initially projected of 2027, with a huge amount of money to be spent. So these new projections are very much heartwarming, and the minister commended the team. And thanks to those who have already supported our Solidarity Fund, the Spire Fund, for coming in at least to do the phase 1 and the phase 2 that they are also promising to be helping us on. But that has actually been a huge savings, firstly on time and cost, to bring this completion to much more forward than what was anticipated earlier.
Okay, and if we can just talk about the COVID-19 figures. I know that the minister spoke about it today. So in terms of the infection rate we're seeing, the minister is still confidently saying we're not technically in the fifth wave. Just for the benefit of those watching for the first time tonight about this specific issue, why is that?
Yeah, but we hope that people are not going to dampen their spirit of vaccination, because whether we are technical on the fifth wave or not, we need to still continue vaccinating and improve our vaccination levels. The scientists who are advising us are saying for it to qualify to be a new wave, you must probably be seeing a new variant. For now, we are seeing a subvariant of Omicron. On phase 4, we had an Omicron B.1 and 0.2. Now we have a 0.4 and 0.5 of the same Omicron variant, but different subtypes. So we are seeing increasing numbers. But even though we are seeing increasing numbers, not so many of our patients are in ICU. There are about only 200 in the country in the ICU. And we are actually due, of course, one death is one death too many. We are not seeing big numbers that we see in the previous waves. So technically, it's not, though we are having a high positivity rate of about now between 20 and 30%, they are defining it as not technically a fifth wave. But we'll watch and see every day, every week we assess and see, and they will advise us if we are at that level. But we should not have our guards down in terms of vaccinations, because we now know that whether we are on a fifth or fourth wave, with vaccination there is actually less severe infections and less admissions into the ICUs.
Just on that, lastly, nobody's really listening to government when you talk about this time and time again. So what's the next move here?
I don't know whether they are not listening. But
well, they're not, because our vaccination rate is pretty low, and we've been saying that for months.
Yeah, if you want to go and enjoy and be in part of what we see in the world of entertainment, you need to have a vaccination certificate. So if you prefer to sit on the countryside, sit at home and not move around and mix with us in malls and everywhere else, then you are probably right. But there will be such incentives for people who want to vaccinate. We are calling for people to support this process because it's just not only fair for you, it's only fair for those who are around you, people in the workplace, people where you are. So that's a request for us to see people vaccinating. Yes, numbers are low. It's not only South Africa, even we discussed in the world. But we now know that if our vaccination levels could move from 50% to more than 70%, maybe we'll even stop wearing masks and they will probably stop having these other regulations that we are now currently putting in place. So we do request our people to still continue with this process. That's the best weapon we have that we actually are asking our people to use and they can.
You snuck in something at the beginning of your answer that I have to get you to elaborate on, because you said if people want to go to malls, etc., they need to have a vaccine certificate. Are you looking to actually have those measures implemented at that rate so that people are ultimately forced to get vaccinated? Because right now you need vaccine certificates for going into stadiums or prove that you are COVID-19 negative with a test. So are you saying we're going to see this being a requirement to even go into malls in South Africa to be vaccinated?
No. When you go to malls, you need to wear the mask. Although I'm saying that you need to enter there with mask. This is the stadium where you have to get in there, where you get into places like you want to actually increase the number of people in your capacity of a 6,000 sort of auditorium. If you want to go half of that, and people who have to be vaccinated, those are the areas. But in malls, we still have to continue with one of the regulations of wearing masks. Not saying that you need to have that vaccination, but it's the wearing of the mask that is still mandatory and actually required in malls.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. Deputy Health Minister, Dr. Sibongiseni Dlomo.